We're not going to call it the debate yet because we may go into a debate on Sunday, but we're going to have a conversation, which is going to be quite competitive. But one thing we're going to do is we're going to keep it respectful and we're going to keep it on the level of grown men. That's what we're going to do. We're looking for the information. So my premise is that most of this stuff that I see on the internet is not Prophet Noble Drew Ali Moorish Science. I think I let my brother tell you his premise about me, but I've seen him post it and he agreed with something that disagreed with me. And on my end, I believe that he didn't drink the Kool-Aid, if you will. He believed that I drink the Kool-Aid. So we're going to have a conversation. We're going to have a conversation, and I'm going to tell y'all, y'all know me, I'm going to keep it very basic and simple, but we're going to have respect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell my brother, I'm going to give him the floor. I'm going to let him go. And I guess we can time it, if you will. I guess we could do like a 5-minute intro, a 3-minute intro, and he give me his premise. And then I'll give him mine. And then he can begin to, he can ask me some questions. And we're going to keep the answers short and concise, and we're going to keep it respectful. I'm going to do my best not to overtalk the brother, you know. But I'm going to be Taharka Bey on my time, you know what I mean? But you don't do no disrespectful thing. That ain't my thing. But we're going to go in. I want everybody, if you're around, if you ever had any idea about Moorish Science or what's the difference between different groups of people that teach Moorish Science, this is your show. Come on to Moorish World TV, and we're going to have a conversation about it. I'm going to let my brother introduce himself. I'm going to sign out on Facebook. If you're interested, come to Moorish World TV, and y'all can hear if you will call it, the discourse or the competitive intellectual challenge, if you will. Peace and love, family. Hope I see y'all on Moorish World TV, and subscribe. Hit the like button. Come into the chat for alerts. I'm going to try to be so swag with it that I'm going to take your questions if you send questions within the chat box. You feel me? So with that, I'm about peace and love. I give the floor to my brother. And the floor is yours, my brother. You can introduce yourself. Let the people know who you are. Let's get it started.
Peace and love, peace and love, peace and love. Islam. It's all more universal. Not just the planet Earth, universal. All Moors, everywhere. Peace and love to y'all. I am Raymond Wimpy L., a domicile in the Ohio Republic Territory near the corporation known as Cincinnati. If you know about the Cincinnati Bengals, you know about the Cincinnati Reds, then that's where I domicile at. Now, what I want to do is introduce to the people what the Prophet told us to do, which was study. One of the things that I hold fast about the Prophet's teachings was to study. Because if one doesn't study, one doesn't know. I think and I feel where the separation is coming from, honestly, from my part, is those who study and those who don't. So we still have some Moors in a belief system mentality when they should be in a knowing mentality, because to be Moor is to know. Because in our ancient times, anywhere we went as Moors with the knowledge. Knowledge is knowing. The only way to know is to take time to study and apply what you have acquired. It's no different from learning how to tie your shoes. Someone had to teach you. Once you start getting taught, you have to go into what is called repetition over and over and over again. That's your studying period. Now, as adults or those who are capable of tying their shoes on their own, it's second nature. It's knowing. So this information that I'm presenting is really second nature to us because it's our information. We have been misguided in thinking that it's not. But we must remember, we are the ones with the knowledge. So anywhere we went on planet Earth, that is what we brought to other civilizations, in part to sometimes civilize some civilizations or people. So with that civilizing process comes laws. So now we're going to go into where laws pertain to the Moors, because the Moor is the law. And I yield the floor for the moment.
Okay, that'll work. So I listened to the brother, and you know, I this is why I let me get this right. This is why I always say, when I listen to a brother, let me first just say this. I listen to the language. I listen to the language and what people say. I want people to know that in this chat, please watch your language. My son might be in the other room watching, and that's just what it is. But when you hear this language, and with all due respect, brother, this language that you speak is the language of Taj Tariq. Again, the language that you speak is the language of Taj Tariq. When you mention the term study, you know, and study, what you're actually quoting is the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. When in context in which that was said, or the prophet said the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America was divinely prepared, in context which that was said in literally a spiritual and yes, a universal context, but in the context is Jesus in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America teaching about the higher and lower self. And he said, if you ask me what to study, I would say self. And if when you say you have studied it well and ask me again what to study, I will reply again, self. In the context of what you're saying, study, you're making good sense, but it doesn't apply to the context in which the prophet is using about the spiritual development of bringing out your spiritualities of self.
Well, let me interject real quick. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, right, was also known as Professor Drew.
Okay.
Correct? Now, to have been a professor, and I'm not talking about one who's self-proclaimed. I'm talking about one that's recognized as one who did the due diligence to hold that title of PhD in whatever field you acquire. That means that he had to study outside of what he may have known or had not known yet. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because it's a known fact that the prophet traveled abroad to study. Now, him traveling abroad to study, that entails that something he didn't know, he had to be taught. And what he was taught, he brought him back here to liberate us here who have been deprived of our nationality and birthrights. Now, that is what the prophet restored to us. Because in 1774, it states that we lost our nationality. So if you lose something, that means you had it before. And even if you lose something, doesn't mean it's always lost. It's a possibility it can be regained. He professed who he was on these shores, Morocco. That right then entailed that the Moors were back here. We were only mentally cut off from our true connection to the land. We were still here. We never went nowhere, never been nowhere else but here. But we were not acting as the true government of this land because we were taken out of the constitutional folds of government by proclaiming to be we actually were Moors here. So with that being said, that's proof that we were Moors before the honorable prophet, peace be upon him, incarnated to the planet Earth. But he was a reminder to say, hey, wake up, people. You're home. You're from Missouri. There's no other place on planet Earth called Missouri. No place on planet. I checked, my brother. So him letting us know we from Missouri, dealing with that southern part of the America, North America, going to the south, that right there takes us into Olmec, Washington, things of that nature, which we were supposed to search.
I don't mean to cut you off, but as you go along, can you give us your reference? You said that this is Al-Iraq. Show us where the prophet says that, and maybe you can show us where the prophet give us Missouri.
Okay, in chapter 47, circle 7 Quran.
Okay.
Right? Egypt, the capital empire of the Dominion of Africa. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but I'm going to go into the part where he lets us know that this is the Moroccan Empire. 6, the Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt, settled and inhabited northwest Africa. They were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire, with their Canaanite, Hittite, Amorite brethren who sojourned from the land of Canaan seeking new homes. Their dominion and inhabitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa, the great Atlantis, even unto the present North, South, and Central America, also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands, before the great earthquake which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. He speaks right there in 6, Moroccan Empire. He speaks in 7, the dominions of the Moroccan Empire, North, South, and Central America, which makes this Morocco here.
What I'm asking you, actually, brother, can I?
That's a reference, and I'm gonna go into why that's a perfect reference.
Can I respond?
Because what Ali in chapter 47, what he did is he showed you the trust of the land of the Moroccan Empire. You get what I'm saying, my brother?
I got you.
That was a trust. That was a trust. He showed you the trust. That's why he said that the Moabites, possessors, possession mean yours. Now, we're descendants of these Moroccans who were anciently known as Moabites. So the Americas is inherently ours because our ancestors possessed the land. So that right there is a trust. That showed you a trust setup right there when he described the dominions. I yield the floor from that point.
Okay, so my question was, when did the prophet mention Missouri or calling this land Al-Morocc? You haven't established that. Now,
okay,
you know that this is the Moroccan, a part of the Moroccan Empire. The Moroccan Empire extended way beyond the United States, way beyond Central Africa, northwest, southwestern shores of Africa. The Moroccan Empire was an empire. This is not specifically Al-Morocc, due to the fact that you are categorizing something as an individual state, when in actuality, during the times of old, there were empires. There was empires that were states. So you had the Roman Empire.
Empires, correct, my brother?
Empire. So this is not Al-Morocc. This is not Al-Morocc. It was a part of the Roman Empire. It's a part of the Moorish Empire, not Al-Morocc.
And then empires, correct, my brother? And empires deal with nations, kingdoms, and dominions.
But this is not Al-Morocc here, because this is a part of the Moroccan Empire.
It states that North America, South America, Central America, Mexico, and the Atlantis Islands are part of the Moroccan Empire. Those are dominions of the empire. America, the word America, is a corruption of the word Al-Morocc. America goes back to Al-Morocc, which is a verbal word.
What I'm asking is, where does the prophet said this? That's all I'm asking.
Al-Morocc, America is many variations.
But I'm asking, where does the prophet say it? I'm really not asking for interpretation.
In language. I'm going to the ancient part of our languages we spoke when consonants ruled. We're in a time of vowels now. You get what I'm saying? So vowels kind of rule words now. But in the time when we use consonants to bring the word about, because vowels are interchangeable, that's how you can get America from Al-Morocc.
Okay.
Because this is the Maghreb Al-Asqa, land of the furthest west. I implore you, my brother, go into any one of the stores in your neighborhood. Speak to those of foreign descent and say that to them.
Hey, brother,
And they
time out. Let me give you about 2 minutes.
That's what happens with me when I go out and speak to foreign nationals. They agree that this is Al Morocco. They know this. Now, the prophet didn't have to tell us that because he told us to study. He wanted us in these days and times to reveal the things that in that days and times most people could not reveal or even be taught because of what system they were coming out of. And it's sad today that our people are still into these systems of belief and don't want to check facts, documented facts of what things really are.
Hey, brother,
now,
this is what we'll do. Let's do this.
My brother, that was geographical. That was telling you the geographical locations of the Moroccan Empire. In the 101 questionnaire, he asks, why are you Moorish American? Because we are descendants of Moroccans born in America. It can't get no clearer than that. It's not more, it's simple.
Okay. Hey, brother, let's do this.
Bloodline. Because that's bloodline right there, right? That's bloodline, right? When you say you are a descendant of someone, that goes into bloodline, right?
Islam.
We are descendants of our family, bloodline. Islam.
Brother, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give each of us 3 minutes, and then we can change it up from there. That way we can both get a fair chance to speak and rebuttal something. Again,
Islam.
I want to say this. Brother, you still haven't shown me where the prophet said, word for word, but this is Al Morocco. Again, I'm going to tell you that our empire consists of multiple, if not hundreds, of territories. And to define this as Al Morocco,
and I said that it consists of nations, kingdoms, and dominions.
Let me finish. To define this as Al Morocco without proof is erroneous and irresponsible.
Hold on.
Secondly,
how is that erroneous and irresponsible?
Because you can't prove.
That's proof of documented fact that anybody
to the prophet over Ali.
And go learn for themselves.
Over Ali, you can't prove it. Secondly, when did the prophet say anything about Missouri you mentioned? Point us to the direction of Missouri as quoted by the prophet.
Now,
I'm going to give you 2 minutes, and then I'll take 2 minutes.
I want to go back.
The clock starts.
Look, I'm going to go back into chapter 47 again because it seemed like you missed something there. And I don't want the people to miss what I was saying when I brought that to light. Now, chapter 47, 6, the Moabites from the land of Moab who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit Northwest Africa. It's a known fact during the Barbary Wars that North America is known as North Africa. You can look into the United States versus the Barbary powers. It speaks all about the wars and the fights between the British, so-called British, which was the brutish Moors, fighting against the American Moors. That book entails that not only is North America, Northwest Africa, but there were Barbary states over here, meaning there was Moorish dominions over here. So North America, which is North Al Morocco, because you can't get the word America without having an A-M-E-R or M-R in there, which makes it Moorish, deriving from the Al Morocco variation, or Amarak or Ameru, which is another word. Meru is another word for it. There's many variations of the word America that goes back to that being Morocco. Now, the Treaty of 1787 between the United States and the Moorish Empire was of the Barbary states that were here, making that dominions of America. That's why I read that chapter 47 to get people clear. You're still in the Moroccan Empire. The Moroccan Empire didn't go nowhere. What happened was the
2 minutes is up.
Let me say the empire is asleep and don't want to wake up to their true nationality and birthright. And another problem is we got Moors thinking that they have to join something to be a Moor, when I just described that we are descendants of Moroccans, which is bloodline. It has nothing to do about us going into some type of temple to try to be a Moor when you're born that. The temple was founded by the Prophet as a civic organization as well as a religious organization, because we were dumbed down on true civics, what government was about, and we were truly dumbed down on our true spirituality here, which is Islamism. So it was a two-part system, just like we're in a two-part system here. Either you're a national of the land,
can I go?
Or you're a U.S. citizen, 14th Amendment citizen of the land. I yield the floor from that point.
Okay. I want to say this, brother. What I'm saying is this. If we say that we follow, because I see somebody in the chat say, you got to figure that out. You know, no, you think for yourself. If we say we follow the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, I don't know if you follow Prophet Noble Drew Ali, but I am a follower of Prophet Noble Drew Ali to the bone.
I'm a follower of the brother too. And so, I just think him as my brother and not a deity.
No, he's a prophet. He's a prophet. He's my brother.
But he's my brother.
Yeah, he's a prophet. He's also my brother.
Because he's a Moor, right? He's a Moorish American, right?
Absolutely. So let me say this. Again, when we look at the framework of what the prophet established, we got to start from point A. And point A is that the prophet says that we are descendants from of Moroccans, descended from Moroccans and born in America. Now, any other language outside of that is up to interpretation. And we know Moroccans, the term Moroccans and Morocco are two different. Moroccans relate to the people of the land, not so much the country of the land. This is how the prophet worded. I didn't word it like that. But on another note, when you say when you keep quoting the prophet, brother, you got to show and prove. You said emphatically the prophet. I just pulled out the prophet. The prophet never said that. He talks about the Moorish Empire.
So I should show and prove with the prophet's literature.
Bro,
this is my own thinking. And, I want to clear something up, brother, because I didn't get a chance to clear this up real quick.
Empire did extend, but out. Come on, brother.
Let me clear something up real quick, brother, because I didn't get a chance to clear something out real quick. I want people to know this. I am my own man. I do my own due diligence studies.
Brother, this sounds like God, brother. Let me talk.
I may have studied with others to get more information on things I did not know myself. But even then, I research what anyone puts out here and says. So I'm not speaking from a Taj Tariq-Bey form or this, that, or that form. I'm speaking from Raymond Wimpy L's form. Because for all this knowledge and stuff, I always stood on my 10 toes, regardless. You get what I'm saying, my brother? So I want to clear that up real quick for the people out there to let them know that be your individual self when it comes to this Moorish thing. Don't think that you have to join this, that, and the third, or be a part of this, that, and the third for this information. This information is privy to anybody because there's Europeans that study this information. So therefore, that doesn't mean this information is just for one person. Because when we bring this information to people from around the world, we didn't just subjugate them to say, hey, you can only learn this, that, and the third. We brung it all.
You give it commentary. We killing more time with commentary.
I'm just putting something on the record because you made a statement that was some Taj Tariq-Bey stuff, and I wanted to let you know
the language is
I'm my own man.
The prophet
I may study.
The prophet never mentioned Al-Murak. You know what that is? Taj Tariq was the first to utter Al-Murak.
You know what that is, though?
Al-Murak.
You know what that is? That is actually taking time to study what the man said, so I can't quote him because I know what he said was fact when I went behind him and studied what he said. When you're dealing with a Sagittarius, right? And I'm gonna put this on the record. When you're dealing with a Sagittarius, we dealing with the no. So you can't just tell us something and not bring it to light to where we can research it.
You're not associating that with the prophet. You take what you're doing is taking something the prophet is saying and interpreting it.
So this is what I'm about to do. I'm about to go into some more records, right?
But can you
not of the prophet saying that the prophet bring it?
Hold up.
But this is what the prophet was trying to connect.
Hold up. We gotta do this order.
This is what we're losing out in the information. We're missing out what the prophet was really trying to connect us back to.
All right, so brother, we can get orderly. I had to mute you. You muted. You muted. I had to mute you. Brother, we need to get orderly. I'm going to give you 3 minutes, and no matter where you at, I'm going to mute you, and then I'm going to take 3 minutes. You can hold the clock for me if you want to, and then I'll stop because we need some order. You know what I'm saying? I would like to have a moderator up here, but we do need order, brothers. You know what I'm saying? No, we just going to be back and forth and get no information to the people. So with that, brother, while you go, I'm going to see if I can get a moderator up in here. But unmute yourself because I can't do it. And the floor is yours, brother.
Okay, I'm unmuted now. So what I'm about to do is, because I showed you the dominions of the Moroccan Empire. Now, in 1787, the United States was not dealing with no Moroccan kingdom or kingdom of Morocco. That did not exist back then. They were dealing with the Moroccan Empire. Now, we're going to show you how the United States of America is based in Islam and not based in what many people think as a Christian nation, or this is some type of Christian government under some type of Christian religion. This is Article 11 of the Treaty of Tripoli. You can find this on Yale Law School, the Avalon Project, the Barbary treaties. Now, I mentioned about the Barbary Wars because the Berbers were, or you could say that word was synonymous with Moor at one time because it was a language that we were speaking. And sometimes people mistake language for identity. Like someone says Spanish, when Spanish is a language, that's not an identity of a person. So I'm gonna go into this real quick. This Treaty of Peace and Friendship signed at Tripoli, November 4th, 1796. And you can do your research to where former President Barack Obama spoke on this nationally or internationally, internationally to the international community about the Americas. You can look it up and say, what did Barack Obama say about the Moors in America or Muslims in America? But we all know Muslim is a code word for Muslim, and Muslim is the Moors. Okay, Article 11. As the government of the United States of America is not in any sense founded on the Christian religion, as it has in itself no character of enmity against the laws, religion, or tranquility of Muslim men. I'm going to go into the definition of what Muslim men is so people can get a clear understanding what the prophet was trying to do for us here. As the said states never have entered into any war or act of hostility against any Mohammedan nation. Prophet said we get our authority from the Holy Quran of Muhammad. Mohammedan nations connect them to. By the parties that no pretext arising from religious opinion shall ever produce an interruption of the harmony existing between the two countries. Now, if the United States was one supposed country here, because the United States was never and has never been a country here, it's always been an incorporated system or business, commercial business on the land of the Moors, Al Morocco, which this is, and you can say that to any foreigner in any store, and they will say, yes, this is Al Morocco. Flat out, no debate, no argument. Now, with that being said, if there's no tranquility, no type of enmity or anything against the Mohammedan nations here, that means that they were subject to the Mohammedan nations. They were under the rule of the Moors here, because it proves to the fact that the United States is not under any so-called Christian religion. So if it's not any under so-called Christian religion, then whose religion were they under before things got twisted up? And then we all know about FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and doing his New Deal stuff. So they were under the Moors. They was under the Moroccan Empire and the North Al Moroccan government here that we had set up as a Continental Congress at first before it became reconsolidated. Now, let's go into that language, reconsolidation. We can be reconsolidated, that means it's not a country, it's a business. Because anytime you go reconsolidate something, that means that has to deal with business. That has to deal with commerce. That don't have nothing to deal with it being part of the land. So the United States of America,
here we go. Here we go.
America is not part of the land of Al Morocco. It's a occupation
real good. But
business functioning on the land of Morocco.
We got a lot of
3 minutes yet, family. Man, I don't think it was 3 minutes yet. You said I had 3, right?
Go ahead, go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish your whole statement. I'm just telling you, you got a moderator in now. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, muscle men. I'm gonna go into the definition of muscle men. You can look this up. I got this from the online etymology dictionary. Muscle men, M-U-S-S-U-L-M-A-N. Now, a Muslim. That's the first thing that comes up, a Muslim. Now, we as Moors know that Muslim is code word for Muslim. It's just spin on the vowels, spin on the word, so people don't get the real denotation of what the word really means. 1560 from Turkish Musulman, from Persian Musulman, from Arabic Muslim. Now, all these are part of the Moroccan Empire. The same Moroccan Empire that I read about in chapter 47. So if they had no problem with us over here, that means that we were in conjunction with one another, setting up a business deal. That's what the Constitution was about. It was about a business deal. Those who to enforce that business deal, meaning the true CEOs of that business, which was us, and those who were supposed to abide by the business, which is the employees, which is United States so-called citizens. Here's where it gets deeper, because since the Constitution comes out of treaties and is governed by treaties, we go into the U.S. Constitution. All debts contracted and engagements entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be as valid against the United States under this Constitution as under the Confederation.
All right, can I? All right, brother.
I'm not finished, my brother. I got a little bit more to read, and I yield the floor. This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land. Now, I'm only going to read that part. There's more to it, but I'm just going to read that part right there. Supreme law of the land. Now, I just showed you where Article 11 states, as the government of the United States of America is not in any sense founded on the Christian religion. So the supreme law of the land had to come from something.
All right, here we go. Let's do this. Let me introduce my brother Ishmael Bey. Brother, are you there?
Yes, sir. Peace, gang. Can you hear me all right?
Yes. So what I want to do is I'm going to respond to the brother real quick. And then what I would like for you to do, I will ask him a question. He'll ask me a question. But I would like for you to just time us 3 minutes. At that point, it's cutoff time. It is what it is. Or we're not going to get nowhere. So I'm about to respond to his friendship and treaty introduction right now. And I don't need, I mean, you can time me, you can put it up, it's all fine with it. But brother, speak to the people real quick, Ishmael Bey. I ain't seen you in a while. I ain't talked to you.
Islam to you, brother.
Islam, family. Islam to both of you kings. Yes, I definitely want to, I think a good fruitful dialogue, aka debate discussion, is a very positive thing. I want to commend both of you for engaging into the intellectual combat. I think that the people will benefit from both. And I think that you both have very valid points of view. And so it's good when you do have a moderator that can kind of keep things balanced and to make sure that that the information gets disseminated equally. And I definitely want to again salute both of you for being able to present both of your positions. And I'm sure for a fact that the people will benefit from it. So again, this is Brother Ishmael Bey. And I just want to welcome both of the brothers for participating.
Now Okay, now here I go. Now the brother said so much, so I'm only going to attack one of his premises. The premise that I'm going to address right off the break is that he thinks that the treaty of friendship and peace applies to him. It does not apply to him. At this time, we was knee deep in slavery. This peace and friendship treaty applied to Morocco and its citizens and nationals. It did not apply for those who were put into slavery. If that was the case, the people of Morocco, of that government, would have fought for the release of the slaves. This treaty is nothing but a contract of commerce between the state of Morocco and the newly formed government. And when I say state, I'm talking about the country of Morocco and the newly formed country of America. Now listen to what it says. Treaty sealed by the Emperor of Morocco, June 23rd, 1786. We were knee deep on the cotton field. This had nothing to do with us. It had something to do with a Moroccan national or Moroccan citizen. It says, and delivered to the American agent at Morocco, June 28, 1786. Additionally, article signed, sealed on behalf of Morocco, July 15, 1786. Ship signals agreement. Let me say it again. Ship signals agreement signed at Morocco, July 6, 1786. Entered into the 4th July 1578. Okay, now let's just go just a little bit. To all the persons whom these presents shall be known or be made known, whereas the United States of America in Congress assembled by their commission bearing the 12th day of May, and then it goes on to say, but if you go down and read this friendship of peace treaty, you will automatically, I'm just going to jump one out. It says that this treaty of peace and friendship established between us and the United States, which is confirmed and which is now ordered to be written in this book and sealed with our royal seal at the court of Morocco, and the 25th day, blessed month of Shaban, in the year 1200, trusting in our God, it will be permanent. We declare that both parties have agreed to this treaty. Now, if you go and read the treaty has nothing to do with any slaves or ex-slaves. This whole treaty, number 4, speaks, a signal or pass shall be given to all vessels. They will let the boats come in, belonging to both parties, by which they are to be known and met at sea. Now, these people will come back and tell you, and you can cut me off when you're ready, Ishmael, because it doesn't matter. These people will come and tell you that the vessel is relating to people. That's what these people will come and tell you. The Taj Tariq-etts. They will tell you that when you're speaking of vessel, and that's what happened when the people got the UCC codes. They started using these terms of vessel and thinking it represents the UCC codes. But the Prophet Noble Ali had nothing to do with this, because this peace and friendship treaty had nothing to do with those whose nationality was stripped away. We're talking about
Brother
two
Taharka,
topics. Yes, sir.
We are at 3 minutes and 30 seconds, brother.
Okay, brother, go. Let's go.
Okay, now you say that had nothing to do with the Moors here who nationality was stripped away from them, but they were Moors here and the nationality was stripped. Prophet Noble Ali told us that the Moors here in the Americas, nationality was stripped from them in the 1700s. So if there was Moors here and their nationality was stripped, that means they was Moors before their nationality was taken away from them. Not all Moors' nationality was taken away from him here. Those who agree to be part of them Union State societies, give up their national standards and become so-called U.S. citizens, those who the ones that was put into servitude because they gave up their national right of the land. They could no longer claim land. Land is what connects you to nature. So therefore, that's where nationality comes from. If you can't claim a land, you can't claim a nationality. It goes hand in hand. People from China claims China, right? Chinese people claim China, flat out. You can't claim no landmass. You can't claim to be a national. You can't claim to be a national if you don't know what international treaties apply to you. Because to be in an international community, there's treaties that come along with that to stop wars, to stop piracy, to stop human trafficking amongst nations. You got to have that. That's what brings order. These are where constitutions come from, so people can have order in their societies. So without no treaties, there's no peace. That's why the treaty was for peace and friendship. It was to stop the wars that were taking place over here between the Muslim or Mohammedan nations and the Christians. It was also because things were getting bad over here for us, amongst us, fighting amongst ourselves. So we had to devise a plan to survive for later days. So when the sun comes out of the west, heard what I just said, right? When the sun rises out of the west, I want to repeat that one more time. So when the sun rises out of the west, it'll wake the sleepy Moors up of the Americas. That sun was Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Now, him being descendant of Washita people, he's part of a grand case against the United States of America, or as people are. So therefore, they had to go into what is known as constitutional law, treaty law, to even defend their position as being the Washita Moors against the United States, and they won. That's fact. You can find that. You can look that up. They won that case. Now, him being part of that or coming from that, his family, his folks, before he got separated from them, had to teach him something about law. He had to know something about law, because when he came back from his Hajj, or, you know, whatever he had to do to become knowledgeable of what his position was, coming back here, first thing he brung the people was law. He started a civics organization first, before he even went into what is considered the religious organization. He brought civics to the people. Civics is law. That's why he said constitutional foes of government. He was bringing you back into the law of the land which your ancestors created. We was not no knee deep in slavery, because there's a Free Sundry Moors Act of 1790 that showed that some Moors went in and used the Moorish national status, connecting themselves to the Moroccan Empire to not to be treated under the Negro Acts, and won their case. So therefore, that's fact.
Time, so brother. Time. We're at 3 minutes and 40 seconds, brother.
Okay, appreciate it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you and the people that when you're talking about civics from the Prophet Noble Drew Ali perspective, he's not talking about the civics that you think he's talking about or that you've been taught. Now, the civics from the Prophet Noble Drew Ali perspective is predicated upon, can y'all see that? Let me make sure y'all can see that. Make sure y'all can see the screen share real quick. The civics from the Prophet Noble Drew Ali perspective is this right here, where the Prophet Noble Drew Ali in divine warning to the nations, where he explains to people, and I'm gonna go to paragraph 2 real quick. He said, I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind of their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law-abiding citizens and receive their divine right as citizens, according to the free national constitution, which was prepared for all free national beings. What free national constitution is he talking about? That's the question I want to ask you, and I'll come back on the other side, because I don't think you know. Because he's talking about being citizens of a free national constitution. I'm asking you, what constitution is the prophet talking about?
Oh, that question is directed to me, so I can speak.
Yes, sir. You can have your 3 minutes.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay, Islam. Now, free national constitution that the prophet speaking of is the preamble organic constitution of 1789-1791 of the United States of North America Republic, also known as North Al Morocco, also known as, and you can research this, Al Americanos Estados Republica. So then that shows you right there, when the prophet was talking about free national constitution, he was talking about the constitution of the land that you dwell in, the one we have here, the one that our ancestors put together to make sure that we were governed correctly. No one molested us on our land, infringed on our rights, but to make sure we don't infringe or molest anyone else's rights who want to come here and live a peaceful life, because this was set up for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's why this was set up. Now, when we go into what the prophet was speaking of when he was talking about civics, it's only one definition for civics. It ain't no variations of civics. So there's no, oh, this is civics, but that's not civics. So what I'm going to do, because like I like to go into the definition of things, and especially the etymon, which all Moors should be using, the etymology of words, especially the English language that we speak. So let's go into the etymon. Civics. Now, study of the rights and responsibilities of a citizen. So if he was telling you that he was giving you the tools to be a good citizen, how do you become a good citizen? You got to know the laws of the land to become a good citizen. What is the laws of the land? The preamble organic constitution that is governed by the true law of the land, because you can't have a constitution nowhere without a treaty going on. That's what brings about constitutions, treaties, because treaties, constitutions, basically the same thing. Really, there is no difference. Constitution was set up between nations. That makes it a treaty between the nations for commerce. So the United States of America, we are not citizens of. We are American citizens. Anywhere I go on planet Earth, I am a Moorish American because I'm a Moor of American descent. I'm a Moor from the Americas. Even if I decide to move to Japan, I'll be a Moorish America that now domiciles in Japan, because you can't change my descent nature. No man can. That comes from the great Allah, not from man. My descent nature is straight blood. To descend from
that's 3 minutes, bro.
Must predate you.
Okay, here we go. Brother, you're wrong again. When the Prophet Noble Drew Ali is talking about the free constitution, and I'm going to share it with you. Hopefully I can get it to you. This comes out of the Moorish literature. What I shared with you the first time, if I'm not mistaken, was the first, I think it was right here. The second paragraph, the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. Then it goes down within the same, the divine warning by the prophet for the nations, the same thing. He goes on and says, and I'm going to drop down to the middle of the last paragraph, I think. It says that these names were never recognized. He's talking about Negro, black, and color, those things that delude the slave, recognized by true American citizens of this day. He's not talking about of the day before him. He said the name Negro is not recognized by true American citizens of his day. Through your free national name, you are recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by the said national government in which we live. Check it out. Now, it says the 14th and 15th Amendment brought the North and the South in unit, placing the Southerners who were at time without power with the Constitution, the body of power. At the same time, 1865, at the same time, 1865, it said the free national constitutional law that was in force since 1774 declared all men free and equal and free. And if men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there's no need for the application of the force. So hold up. What I'm talking about, you said something about 1789 and 1781. The prophet is not talking about that. Clearly, he's directing your focus to 1774. What exactly is he talking about in 1774? In 1774, there was a meeting at the Continental Congress, and that's when they formed the what you would call the Declaration of Independence. And that Declaration of Independence states that all men all human beings, all people, and I'm paraphrasing, are created free and equal. That meeting was held in Carpenter's Hall in 1774, and that's where you get the free national constitution where he's talking about. It's not what you're talking about. That's not the prophet's doctrine. I yield the floor. Anything you want to ask me?
Now,
are you yielding the rest of your time, brother? You're at 2 minutes and 48 seconds.
I'm gonna beat him down. I'm gonna beat him good. I want you, master.
You just heard me say the preamble organic constitution, 1789, 1791. Right? Now, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship wasn't signed in 1786, right? Am I correct?
That's, brother, you can make your claim. I'm telling you,
correct?
Teaching is not the proper
1786, right?
I ain't answering nothing. Unless
United States that we know today didn't exist. So he wasn't talking about that United States. As I said before,
hold on.
When he brought,
that, please. I'm sorry, my brother.
He was talking about the peace and friendship, as well as long as the Constitution, because they go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. One predates the other, so the other comes from one. So they go together. So when you're enforcing one, you enforcing the other. That's why Article 6 states to you that, and I'll read that again. This Constitution and the laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made of. Treaty they talking about is the Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1787, made between the Moroccan Empire, not no Moroccan kingdom, that didn't exist. They didn't come about to the late 50s. They didn't even incorporate the flag to the late 50s. So that flag that's behind you, brother, is from these shores. That's the Al Moroccan flag that's behind you, which makes this Al Morocco, because the prophet told us that our flag has flown over here for more than 10,000 years. So what he was connecting you back to was the Moroccan Empire, who made those treaties and the Constitution for us to enforce, because we are that Moroccan Empire. That's us. We are the descendants of those people. We are to enforce that free national constitution, because any constitution of any land is free national constitution. It's what is protecting the freedoms and the rights of the people. That's the compact that we, the people, us, put together with them to allow them to rent land, not own land, rent land, do commercial business with us. That was all that was set up for, commercial business. What we have done is we have gotten ourselves out of what is considered constitutional forms of government, being Negro, Black, and colored in the mind, dogmatic religions in the mind, don't want to let it go of stuff that's keeping us down, don't want to elevate to what the prophet brought us when he told us that we are our foremothers and forefathers without doubt and contradiction. So if I am them and they are me, then those documents apply to me, and it's my duty to enforce them, because that's what my ancestors put it down for. They didn't put it down for us to be lazy Moors.
We're at 3 minutes, brother. 3 minutes.
To make sure that we're active Moors, and that's what the prophet brought to us, be active Moors. And that's how you be active. You be active as in making sure that you enforce your trust on the land you come from. Because that's what those documents are too. They are trust documents. I yield the floor.
Okay, here we go. So the brother said that this is the Moroccan flag. I'm telling y'all that he's wrong again. One more time.
I said Al Moroccan. I didn't say Moroccan, brother. I said Al Moroccan. But it's also the Moroccan flag as well. I yield the floor.
Oh, okay, thank you. He's wrong again. The prophet asked the question, and I don't even have to screenshot what the prophet asked, but I'm going to screenshot something else for you. The prophet asked the questions. He didn't ask the question, what kind of flag is the Moroccan flag? He asked the question, what kind of flag is the Moorish? And the answer to the question in the divine doctrine of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Matter of fact, I want to show the people this, even though it's going to take my time. The divine doctrine called the questionnaire. This is the framework laid out by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. In this divine doctrine, it says, what kind of flag is the Moorish? And the answer to that, if you see, it is number 19. Number 19 state. And what the answer to that? It is a red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center. And the question again is, what kind of flag is the Moorish? Behind me, family, I present to you the Moorish flag, not a Moroccan flag. See, they want to be Moroccan maybe, but I am Moorish. Anyway, descendants of Moroccans. Now, the difference between the Moorish flag, matter of fact, even on his, matter of fact, let me cut this real quick and let me show you his Facebook. On his Facebook, he doesn't have a Moorish or Moroccan flag. He has a bootleg flag. This is not Moorish or Moroccan. That's his Facebook. I just thought I'd show that, since because you said so dirty at Taharka wants to debate. Okay, scimitar time. Now let's see who got the scimitar. Let's see who got the scimitar. So I'm gonna take my
time, player.
I'm gonna take my 3 minutes and show you what's dirty. What's dirty is using a star that doesn't even represent us. Now let me delete that, and now let me show you the difference. The Moorish flag is a red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center. That's a Moorish flag. It doesn't have no red, no black border. The flag that was adopted by Morocco, it actually has a black border. And the brother that, or the Muslim brother who adopted that flag, he describes it to you. He describes it that it's outlined in a black border, that the 5 points represents the 5 pillars of Islam, and that the red field, he goes on to explain. So find out who introduced the Moroccan flag, which is an adaptation of the Moorish flag. Again, the prophet teaches what color, what kind of flag is the Moorish. Those are 2 separate flags. Look at the creator of the Moroccan flag, or the one that has adopted it from the Moorish. The Moorish flag was here, not the flag of our Morocco, according to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So this is why I say you guys do not follow Prophet Noble Drew Ali, because you're totally off base. Y'all got a new doctrine. This is some new stuff.
3 minutes, brother. 3 minutes. With the 3 minutes.
You can ask me anything you want. Floor is yours.
Okay, I'm about to go right back into that same questionnaire you read. Say, what kind of flag is the Moorish flag? It is a red flag with a 5-point green star in the center. The flag that's on my page is a red flag with a 5-point green star in the middle. Black border, that's just irrelevant. That's bullshit. That's nonsense. Excuse my language.
I'm going to show it to you.
You know what I'm saying? That's bull. You get what I'm saying? Because it's the same flag. Only thing is they're renting that flag. That's what makes it different from them and us. But it's the same flag. And when I presented that to foreigners from so-called Africa, Ethiopia, first thing they say, oh, you're Moroccan. And then I explain Moroccan here. They don't go in, oh, you're Moorish or you're Moorish American. They say Moroccan because they know for a fact this is Morocco over here. We might want to play the games that it's not, but this is what this place is. Because the prophet told us that we are descendants of Moroccans born in America, which makes us Moorish Americans. But we are Moroccans because we're descendants of those. You can't exclude that out. It's like trying to not be cool with your crackhead uncle because he a crackhead. It don't work like that. That's still your uncle. We still Moroccans. We might presently go by a modern term, Moorish American, but we're still Moroccans or our Moroccans. And I express to you, brother, and I implore to you, go into any one of these stores, chop it up with one of those brothers and sisters from the East that's already here that the prophet told us was going to be here to save us. They already here. Chop it up with them. Speak to them. Ask them about the Maghreb, Alaska, and they're going to tell you standing on it, which is another name for Morocco. And we can go into the etymology dictionary and look that up, and it will say Morocco, also known as the Maghreb, Alaska, land of the furthest west. So ain't no land further west than what's known as the Americas today. So we can have that so-called debate, but it's really not, because you prove my point, really, when you went to the Constitution to show that the 14th and 15th Amendment is not necessary. So if we party to that Constitution and that was not necessary for us for our citizenship here, then what parts of party to us that guarantees our citizenship as American citizens, not U.S. citizens, American citizens. If you're an American citizen, that means the continent. Doesn't mean a portion of it. Doesn't mean a part of it. If I go to the islands, I'm an American citizen there, because that's America. If I go to South America, I'm an American citizen there, because that's America. So there's no separation with that. Now, the flag thing, no difference. Anybody will tell you that. Anybody will show you that. No true difference. Red flag, 5-point green star, stands for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. That we all know is Moors. We're supposed to be out here professing every day. So with that being said, we all know that we can't keep playing the game, that we can't use our national standing to do what we're supposed to do as nationals here, which is enforce the free national constitution upon anybody that tries to infringe upon our rights here or any of our brethren rights here, because that's what it was set up for, to make sure that we put our rights to the people.
Okay.
3 minutes and 30 seconds. Brother Taharka, I do have a quick question right quick.
Yes,
we have a question from the forum, one for each of you. And I'd like to ask you the questions.
Can I respond to this for real quick? I only need about 20 seconds.
No, I wanted to go into this after you responded back. I just wanted to let you know that we were going to go into questions after you responded back.
Of
yes,
course.
Sir.
So I'm going to respond to one thing where the brother says that the Moroccan and the flags are the same. Well, I'm going to share something with you. This is not from me. This is from those who research flags. The history of the Moroccan flag. And I'll read it to you. I didn't say this. I just follow the prophet and I look at the detail of what the prophets say. That the Moorish flag is a red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center. And the 5 points represent love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. The history of the Moroccan flag. You can get this from this website right here. What is that? Marrakesh. I don't know. Anyway, the Moroccan flag is common sight in the streets of Marrakesh. It can be found flying proudly, It goes on and down. Then it gives you the history. The flag of Morocco is made of a red field with a black bordered green pentagram star. The Moorish flag is a red flag with a 5-pointed green star. The prophet was a prophet. Look at the detail in which the prophet teaches. Although we use red more commonly associated with Arab states of the Persian Gulf, red and green are traditional colors of Arab flags, and both colors are seen in the flag in the neighboring Algeria and Western Sahara flag. It goes on to say that the green 5-pointed star on the flag in 1915, they say they seen the prophet in 1913 with a blazing red fez and waving a flag, which they even thought was a Moroccan flag. They said the green pentagon is drawn 5 straight lines. Your flag is not 5 straight lines. Yours is interlocking. It's not even a Moroccan flag. Each line represents the 5 pillars of Islam. The Prophet Noble Ali teaches us that our 5 points represents love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. The style of the star has long been used as a symbol of religion as the Star of Solomon. This is not the Moorish flag. The Moorish flag is distinctively different but closely similar. Period, point blank. Secondly, you want to know how you become a citizen. You say, so something about how you become a citizen. You're born a citizen. When you're born on a land, you're born a citizen. To meet the criteria, you keep reading the Constitution, will go by the same criteria and read that criteria of how to become a citizen. Have been born in the United States with certain territories outlined in possession of the United States and subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. Had a parent or parents who were citizen at the time of your birth. You know, so the bottom line is very simple. To become a citizen of the United States, you have to be born. You're born a citizen. The problem is our nationality was stripped away and we was unconscious of our citizenship. Therefore, we was outside of the constitutional fold. Proclaiming your nationality puts you back into the constitutional fold, and you don't fight the power. In the words of my brother Sharif Anil Bey, you become the power. I yield the floor. Let's get some questions.
Let me respond real quick.
That was 2 minutes and 54 seconds, brother.
I'm gonna respond real quick. I ain't gonna even go to 3 minutes for that. I'm gonna respond real quick. United States of America is a corporation. Corporation can't have citizens, so no one can be a citizen of a corporation. It's like you being a citizen of Walmart, or being a citizen of Macy's, or being a citizen of what you would consider a grocery store, grocery chain, department store, warehouse. You can't be a citizen of a corporation. So that right there is where the brother is totally incorrect. Prophet told us flat out, being born here doesn't make you a citizen here. So therefore, that lets us know that there are true citizens here and there's not. Now, who's not the true citizens of the American land? Those who can't apply the 1828 definition of American to themselves, which is the copper-colored races found here in the Americas. So anyone that's not copper-colored found here in the Americas before the European got here, you can't claim American citizenship nowhere on this land. You are a foreigner to this land. Now, the United States Corporation is a foreign corporation to the land known as Morocco, Al-Morocco. The 5-point green star you got on your back of your flag, interwoven as well, brother. So let's keep it correct, man. It's a 5-point green star. It doesn't matter how the star is drawn up. It's a 5-point green star regardless. So we can't keep playing the games like we're not supposed to do what we're supposed to do as nationals here, which know national law, international law, and apply it as such. I yield the floor. We can go to the questions now.
That was 1 minute and 23 seconds. The first question goes, Ramon. In the United States, you had the slave Abdul Rahman, and he fell under the jurisdiction of the Moroccan Treaty of Peace and Friendship. He was acknowledged by the King of Morocco, released from his bondage and returned back under the protection of that treaty.
Brother, real quick, can you say his name again?
Abdul Rahman in Louisiana.
Okay, got you. Okay.
Also, the movie was made Prince Among Slaves about him. So he fell under the jurisdiction of this treaty. If all Moors in America fell under the jurisdiction of this treaty, why didn't the King of Morocco acknowledge all the Moors here? And why was he treated as a singular special case out of all of the other slaves in America?
Now, who you want to answer the question, me or Taharka?
I don't need. I think it's obvious. I have an answer for that, but you need to answer that.
Well, that goes out to both of the brothers to answer, but the question went to you first, Brother Ramon.
Give it to him. Let me answer real quick. The reason why he was a Moroccan national, as I stated before, he was a citizen of Morocco. So of course, if you get taken in wartime anywhere, your country fights for you to come back. Of course, we wasn't citizens of Morocco. We was into slavery. It is what it is. And they didn't claim us as being citizens of Morocco or nationals of Morocco or anything associated with Morocco, period. That's the reason why they came and claimed their own and not claimed us.
And Brother Ramon, what is your answer to that, Brother Ramon?
I'm going to ask Taharka a real quick question just for a real quick answer. Taharka, what's your nationality, brother?
Moorish American.
Okay, you just professed that out your mouth, right?
Right.
Okay, that's how you get noticed. He professed out of his mouth who he was, and that's how he got noticed. Others didn't profess out of their mouth who they were. They may have forgotten who they were or were scared to profess who they were. Closed mouth don't get fed. That's what my mama taught me. You don't speak up, no one's going to hear you. So if we collectively don't speak up, no one's going to hear us. An individual can only do so much, but a collective front can make so much more happen. But if you claim to be a national, and I like to reiterate this to people who claim to be nationals of somewhere, but have no clue of the national law or the international law that governs that nationality, then you can't claim to be nothing that you don't know of. That's real facts. You can't be out here doing something when you don't have a clue what you're doing. You can't claim to fix cars and not a mechanic, or never learn anything of mechanics. That's an oxymoron. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. You can't claim to be a brain surgeon and never study how to perform brain surgery. So you can't claim to be a national and never took time to read the national constitution, free national constitution at that, or the international treaties that governs that constitution. That goes hand in hand. You can't skip that claiming to be a national, because if you ask any other national in the world what will protect them from being hurt or harmed, they're going to pull out treaties. And if it's in their own land, they're going to pull out a constitution. I yield the floor.
Okay. Now, I want to say this, and I'll leave this alone. Brother, if anybody want to look up this case, you actually can look it up, and I'll put the link in here. And this is a good website where you can familiarize yourself with this actual thing. It's not because he spoke up. He was a citizen of Morocco, period, point blank. And here's it is right here. And I'm going to put this in the link so you brothers and sisters can look at it. It wasn't because he spoke up. You know what I mean? Kuta Kinte didn't want to speak up and call him something that he wasn't. They ain't free him. The point of the matter is that he was a citizen. He was a citizen.
He didn't speak up and say he was a Moor. He just spoke up and said he was a Moor. It might have been something different, but he spoke up and said he was.
I think Moor is a magic word. Okay.
He spoke up and took on the name Toby, and Toby is a subjective name. So
can I finish real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Anyway,
brother.
If y'all want to see this, it shows you that this brother that was put into slavery, he was a citizen of the country that had a peace and friendship agreement. So because he was a citizen of that country, they came and rescued him. If you want to read the story, you actually can. I'm putting it in the link right now. And I'll go to the second question, because what he's saying is bogus. That's your grandmama used to say, well, the closed mouth don't get fed. But here you go. If you want to check it out, it's right there. That's the real story. He was a citizen of a country. If one of y'all go captive, whether you call yourself Negro, black, colored, or anything else, or Moorish American, in another country while you on a trip, the United States is obligated, whether they do it or not, to try to bring you home. Period, point blank. Whether they do it or not. That's just what countries do for their citizens. And when he's talking about citizens, just because you're born here doesn't make you a citizen. No, proclaim born here in the context. You need to read the whole context, not that little piece that Taj gives you. In the whole context of that statement, it's talking about proclaiming who you are, because that is going to validate and verify your citizenship. Read the whole message that the prophet said, not that little sentence that Taj teach you. Anyway,
we'll go to question number 2. Yes, sir. Question number 2. It comes from Brother Micaiah Israel. It says, Ishmael, my question is, why is it important to join a temple that goes to Taharka and goes to the other brother? Why is it not? So the question is, why is it important to join the temple, or why is it important not to join the temple?
Do you want to answer that first, or you want me to go, brother?
I can answer it first.
Okay.
I'll say this. It's very, very pertinent that Moors are a part of the Moorish Science Temple of America that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali established. I push that all day, every day. All Moors should be a part of a temple. And if you can't be part of a temple where you domicile at, because there may not be none there, do your due diligence to become an honorary member of a temple who can provide that information that we all should be seeking as Moorish Americans here. Now, I also say this: go into anything with your eyes wide open. Just because we look alike don't mean we for each other. I don't care who you are, where you come from. Most of the people that done you bad in your life look like you. That's real talk. So if you enter anything, even with this knowledge of Moorish science, enter it with your eyes wide open, making sure you observe everything. Everything that's supposed to take place, everything that is not supposed to take place. Let your heart be your guide and your judgment in you either joining a temple or not joining a temple. Where I domicile, there is no temple. So I am an honorary member of a temple, which I attend classes just like any member should. And I make sure that the word get out about my temple, and to let people know that if they are looking for honorary membership to a temple, to investigate. But the key word is investigate. I think what we do as Moors is when we get information, we don't investigate. We don't take the time to actually sit down and study what someone is saying with us, because we get into the circus hype of people and the rah-rah and this, that, and the third, because we looking to follow a man instead of be a man, be a leader amongst ourselves. That's why I posted the other day on Facebook, I'm no one's leader. No one's leader. Don't look for me to lead you anywhere. Look for that leader within yourself to lead you where you need to go. But there's nothing wrong with using reference points to help you in your journey. One of the greatest leaders of all time amongst our people was Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Study him. Do your due diligence in studying that man. Study Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Study what he was bringing to the people. Study their connection to one another and how they were coming together to make sure that the people were going to get what they needed. Study the infiltration of Moorish Science Temple that Moors don't like to talk about, because there was infiltration. Study the FBI files on the Moorish Science Temple that's out there, because Moors don't like to talk about that either. And those who say they temple Moors, let me break some down to you. These are temples. This is where the Moor really dwells, not in a building. Prophet Noble Drew Ali told us that man is mine. You have to know you a Moor. Don't matter how much people tell you you want, because we out here professing every day we Moors, and there's still people that don't listen. So that's something you got to know for yourself. Others can relay that to you, but if you don't accept that or receptive to that, it doesn't mean squat.
That's 3 minutes, brother.
Make sure that you investigate what you put yourself into.
Okay. Now, what's the question again, brother?
The question was, why is it important for Moors to join the temple, or why is it important for Moors not to join the temple?
Okay.
The question to you was, why is it important to join the temple?
Why it's important to join the temple, because if you say you believe in a holy and divine prophet, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, that's what he set up. When he came to, first of all, when he was in New Jersey, he had meetings at the Canaanite temple. He went from New Jersey to Chicago for what reasons we know, if we can get all into that. But he organized within a temple structure. A temple structure, whether it was the Moorish Holy Temple of Science or whether it was the Moorish Science Temple of America, it was brick and mortar. From the brick and mortar extends the civic program. From the brick and mortar extends the uplifting of fallen humanity, food, clothes, shelter. From the brick and mortar, that is ground zero to build and plan to go out and retrieve our people from the institution of slavery. Now, it's the brick and mortar. It's not the temples in ancient Kemet. There wasn't temple like churches. So, of course, we have temples that function like churches. Of course, the Moorish Science temple was infiltrated. They actually went after the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's skin. They actually even contribute to the death of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So what am I saying here? Moors don't run from this stuff. Not to Taharka Bey. I'm saying if you say you follow a true and divine prophet by the name of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and the structure that he put together, he left not one stone unturned with the structure of the temple. And you see it's not right, why aren't you there to fix it up? Because if you say somebody break into your house and they tear your house inside out, what are you going to do? Go next door and watch them continue to tear it inside out, but tell people that you follow the new leader of the house, or that you are the leader of that house, or that, man, listen, that's that thing over there. I ain't with that. You know what I mean? And somebody asked if it's proof of infiltration. It sure is proof of infiltration, but that's another story. So why should we be in the Moorish Science Temple of America? Because you said that you follow the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and his footprints are clearly cut. And because they're clearly cut, go the way that he went. Don't make your own way, because you're not going to be successful. The Moorish Science Temple of America is a collective effort. It goes from the temple to the community to nationhood, in that order. It doesn't take, and the brother Mike will stop me in a minute, but Moorish Science doesn't work individually. You know what I mean? Moorish Science doesn't work individually. It doesn't work where I go get a right to travel as an individual. It doesn't work as I go and get my status changed as an individual. It doesn't work like that. Moorish Science is a collective effort. It's predicated upon nation. Nations must be together and live together. And it starts from the temple. And
3 minute time, brother. Yes, sir.
Okay, I want to go in real quick and kind of bring back something Taharka has said. Now, he said if you follow the prophet, you should join the temple. That's one thing I can agree on with Taharka right now. If you do follow Prophet Noble Drew Ali, you should join the temple. But Prophet Noble Drew Ali did tell us that Moors will be coming into these temples eyes wide open. So that's why I suggest to any Moor who's joining any temple, go in eyes wide open. You should know the basic functions of a temple before you enter it. You should always know the basic functions of anything before you enter it. That way you'll have some basic knowledge of what you're getting yourself into. Now, the investigation comes through further knowledge of what you're getting yourself into. Because as he stated and as I stated, there has been infiltration in these temples. Many of these temples are not running exactly how the prophet set them up. The religious overtone was to cover up some of the civics that were being snitched on about. That's what the infiltration was coming about. It come to find out he wasn't just teaching so-called Islam. He was teaching constitutional foes of government. He was teaching these people civics of the land that they belong to. He was teaching them how to enforce those civics on those who might want to try to molest them. So therefore, we as collective Moorish Americans, yes, we should collectively be in the temples. But if those temples are not going to function how they were supposed to function, that's going to make the whole thing dysfunctional. That's going to put Moors back into a mind state of Negro, black, colored. Like, why would I want to join that when I don't see no real nationalism going on? Now, we nationals of our own land. Correct? We nationals of the land, correct? As nationals of the land, no one can tell us how we can traverse on our land. If we are listening to others on our land and not ourselves, then that wouldn't make it our land, it would make it theirs. But it's not their land. So therefore, if I got a right to travel on my land, I'm gonna exercise that right. And I could do it without a card. I could do it with my voice, myself. Because when Moors go to court, battling this beast, doing what they can to put themselves on the record to make sure that, yeah, the Moors are back, we're here, we ain't sleep. Most of the time, these Moors are going to these places by themselves. You know why? because we got too many people in our nation that's still terrified of these Europeans, scared to death of them, not about to bust a grape in a jelly factory when it comes to them. I'm keeping it 100% real. We'll talk all this mess about the so-called white man this and the so-called white man that, but we don't bring it to their faces. We don't say nothing to them face-wise. Most of us don't. I don't call them white. I call them Europeans, Albions. That's what they are. We can look in Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, and show you the free white person. Damn sure not them.
3 minutes, brother. 3 minutes.
All right, so I guess we can go to 10:30 if Ishmael got time. But let me see.
There's it there, Ishmael, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm on West Coast time, so you know it's only 7 o'clock here.
Well, let me say this.
Khalifa territory, huh?
Well, let me say this. Let me say this. Okay. Speaking on this, brother keeps saying that he's a national. Let me explain something to you. The reason why you can't follow the Prophet Noble Drew Ali and be a national is because, let me show you what a national is. First of all, a U.S. national, according to these laws they keep quoting from Europeans, they keep quoting these European laws. So according to the European, and y'all call me sellout, call me what you want, but I'm gonna tell you.
Can you show me where European created laws?
No, that's what you quote in the Constitution that you want to enforce. And the Prophet is talking about a different enforcement that doesn't associate with that. But don't cut me off real quick. A U.S. national is a person born or having ties and outlying possession of the United States. Listen close, which is, as of 2005, only American Samoa and Swains Island. I don't know what Taj teaching y'all, but I'm gonna tell you what these people of laws that you want to enforce says. Additionally, it includes the individual born abroad to 2 U.S. national parents, and those born abroad to 1 alien parent and 1 U.S. national parent. I hope you understand this. Additionally, there is residency requirements. Now, let me just drop right down here the reason why you can't be with the Prophet Noble Drew Ali and say that you're a national. Restrictions. U.S. nationals cannot vote in any election. That's number 1. Number 2, U.S. nationals cannot vote in any elections. That's what you say. You're a national. But real quick before you stop my time, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali tells us emphatically right here. He says, there's one issue for them to be recognized by the government and the nation of the earth, and that's through the connection to the Moorish National and Divine Movement, which is the Moorish Science Temple of America, which is incorporated in this government, and recognized by all nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast the free national ballots at the polls under the Constitution of the state's government and not under a granted privilege has been existing condition for generation. Nationals cannot vote. What poll was he talking about? Nationals cannot vote.
You want me to answer?
That was at the 2 minutes and 49 seconds.
Okay. Now what I'm gonna do, because he used U.S. national, but as I stated before, the U.S. is a corporation. It's not a country. So therefore, it can't have nationals. The government that Prophet Noble Drew Ali was speaking of was the United States America, North America Republic.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Because the national anthem, right? Not that national anthem, I'm sorry. The Pledge of Allegiance. The Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag for the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. So therefore, he was talking about the republic form of government that the Moors set up over here that we are part and parcel to. We're not talking about no U.S. corporation. That's why when you see the U.S, that's corporation. Now, the Moorish Science Temple being incorporated into the government was the American Republic, North American Republic government that it was incorporated to, because it was for the redemption of the Moorish Americans here. It wasn't for the redemption of anybody else. That's why the prophet set it up for us here to redeem us on our land using the free national constitution. Now, let's go into the word national, because the national doesn't debate whether you're a so-called corporation national or a country national. It just says national. And when you're a national of your land, you're the original person of that land. Let's go into the word national. And I'm reading out of this. Random's House. I want people to kind of see it if they can see it. If they can, I'm sorry. Random's House, Webster Dictionary, College Dictionary. National. Adjective. So it's giving the description to the person. Number one, of pertaining to or belonging to a nation or national anthem or national affairs. Peculiar or common to the people of a nation, national customs, devoted to one's own nation, its interests, etc. So therefore, right there tells you that when you're a national of the land, there's culture that comes with that land, right? There's laws that come with that land, because the laws are set up to make sure that everyone is a functioning citizen of the land, not a corporation. We have to start understanding the United States is not a country. It is a corporation. Therefore, it can't have citizens of any kind. So there really is no 14th or 15th Amendment citizens. Anyone that's here that didn't come to a Moor, that's one of the reasons why the temples were set up, because they were supposed to have been our regencies. So when people come in from foreign lands, correct, didn't know that. Prophet was a diplomat. And with his connection, bloodline connection to the Washita Nation, that also put him in a royal status as well. But since Moors don't study, they don't know that. But with that being said, with the prophet being of those statutes, he was able to use those documents to set up where he needed to set up to bring us back to the constitutional forms of government, so we can start applying what we're supposed to be applying as a nation of people upon our land. This is our land by birthright. No one brought us here. That's why we are descendants of Moroccans, because this is Morocco. Those are key things that he was putting into your mindset to get you to start to study, to get you to start to follow the breadcrumbs so you can get to the bigger picture. He knew in his time he couldn't relay all that information on those people that were just coming out of chattel slavery, where slavery has always been is a mental thing that trickles down to the physical body. When the mind think of, that's what the body gonna do. You can't be a Moor if you don't think it in the mind you're a Moor first. So the temple and the divine constitution and bylaws and everything else that came from the prophet came from his mind first. It just didn't come out. He had to think these things. He had to be what he knows.
That's 3 minutes, brother.
That's the mind.
So brother, I'm gonna close this out, and then I'll let you. I'm gonna have the last word because it is Moorish World TV. But I'm gonna close it out as it relates to your points. First of all, we started this off, and you used the classic Taj study. And I've showed that in the sense where Taj said, Prophet Noble Drew Ali says, study. Prophet Noble Drew Ali is not even quoted as ever saying that. It actually comes out of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. So if you want to say that by default it's quoted by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali because this was divinely prepared, okay, that's fine. But it's a story that the prophet is conveying to us about studying. That old stuff that y'all talk about is not relative to that story. That's number one. Number two, you said that this is Al-Marak. The prophet never called it Al-Marak. We have no documentation that it's Al-Marak. We do know that it's the Moorish Empire, correct, as you said. You also said that the prophet said we come from Mississippi. I mean, not Mississippi, pardon me, Missouri. The prophet never, ever said anything such. Secondly, you say that you're a national of the land. I'm telling you that national, whether you are Moor national, you're a U.S. national, or you're just a Hebrew national, nationals cannot participate in elections. The prophet clearly voted, clearly instituted the group vote, clearly got other Asiatics into office. You feel me? Number three, you said that the flag that you're flying, it doesn't make a difference when the prophet clearly tells us what the Moorish flag is, and the difference between the Moorish and the Moroccan flag is clear. You just disregard all that. But I'm using the prophet standard. You also say that the prophet was Washita. Okay, because the Washita was in North Carolina. But did the prophet ever say that? The prophet said proclaim. If he tells you to proclaim, what is his nationality? Moorish American. What is your nationality? Moorish American. That is proclaiming by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. He never proclaimed Washita, which by default, I will give you that. But don't say that the prophet said that, because he didn't. You can't put that on him. Last thing but not least, you claim that the 1789 and the 1781 preamble is what the prophet was talking about, when clearly the prophet speaks about the 1774 laws of constitution never changed. He never mentioned 1789, never mentioned 1781. This stuff that you talking is not Moorish science. Period, point blank. You can say I'm trying to put you back in slavery. You can call me whatever you call me. You're going to do this and do that. But the fact of the matter, what you've been studying is not Moorish science as taught by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And I yield the floor, and I hope that you can inbox me so I can really explain the framework that was outlined by the prophet Noble Drew Ali, so we can go to the next level. Period, point blank. Peace and love. And then I'll close after you done. Let my boy Ish, let my boy Ish, I done went homeboy style. Let my brother Ish take the floor after you go, I would imagine.
All right. Now, you say the prophet never stated we was from Missouri, but in the oral statements of the prophet, 148, Sister M. Peyton Bey, GNT, said that the Holy Prophet said, you are from Missouri. Have I got to show you? Missouri is the nickname for the show me state, which could mean that the prophet did in fact show and prove 100% of everything he said. In fact, truth, and none have been able to dispute it. So there, right there, in the oral statements of the prophet, it shows that we are from Missouri, which is the Americas. Prophet said it. It's in the oral statements. I got faith in my prophet that he said it. I don't know if you do. I don't know if other Moors do. But I got faith in my prophet that he said it. I want to continue to speak. Brother, because you did say you was gonna let me go out with a bang.
But I want to let you know. Real bang. He's the one that compiled the oral statements. I want you to know that. But you can.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. But like I said, I have faith in my prophet. He said it. You know what I'm saying? If you don't, that's upon you. That's between you and the prophet. Y'all deal with that. Ain't got nothing to do with this more here. I have faith in my prophet that he stated that, because he also told us that we was Moroccans, descendants of Moroccans born in America. So I got faith in my prophet on that as well. So with that being said, now you talking about the Constitution of 1774, but that Constitution leads into the Constitution of 1789 to 1791, because Georgie didn't become appointed president of the newly reconsolidated United States of America until 1791. We got a letter between George Washington and the Sultan of Morocco that proves that. So when he said it wasn't changed, he was talking about Those constitutions right there had never been changed until the add-on of other amendments that did not apply to the Moors. Now, I can ask you what amendments as well as bills of rights applies to Moors in there. I wonder if you could tell me, because I know for a fact what does and what doesn't apply to Moors. 14th, 15th Amendment was not needed for us because we are not foreigners of this land. That's for foreigners, people that come from other lands. They have to be naturalized in. You can't naturalize one who's already a national, born national of the land. We are nationals of this land. You can't claim to be a Moorish American as your nationality, but you're not national of the land. What, you're a national of a building? You can't be national of a building. That's an oxymoron. Nationals are of land, not buildings. Not to exclude the MSTA because it's very needed. Very, very needed. But it needs to be functioning as it was set up to function. Civics as well as religion, because this is a national and divine movement. Two-part system, as I explained before. There's a two-part system. That's why when the prophet spoke, he spoke in allegory. He made you have to think where he was going or what he was talking about. That's why I said he dropped the breadcrumbs. All you had to do was follow him, and the meal would have been right there at the table for you. But most of us get to that meal and can't stomach it because it's too much truth for us. We don't want to face the real reality that this is our land, and others on this land that was not naturalized by us are squatters, foreign, and are fraudulently here by default. Wasn't supposed to be here without Moors bringing you here. You had to come through Moorish ports here. You couldn't, there were no U.S. ports here. There were no U.S. ports on the East Coast. Those were Moorish ports because we ran the seas. You couldn't do nothing with us on that water. You had to come through us on that water. They were not able to get their ships to certain places. That's why they had to come under the protection of the Moors. This is what the Treaty of Peace and Friendship is about also, that the Europeans had to come up under our protection. Because we had Moors out there that wasn't down with the deal. This is where the piracy comes from on the Moors, who wasn't down with those deals, who started kidnapping European captives and stuff off them ships. European didn't create no laws on planet Earth because laws are universal. It comes from universal law, which is natural law, which is common law. The first natural common people on planet Earth is us. So all laws come from us. They have no laws. It's a known fact. They adopted our Constitution. To adopt something meaning it was already in existence. That's like you go adopt a child. That child was already born. So you can't create something that was already here. That's that same mentality of saying Christopher Columbus discovered America when it was people already here. So I just want Moors out here to know. To follow the prophet is to study what your free national constitution of this land is. Because he would have made a clear distinction between free national constitution and divine constitution and bylaws, which he did. That's why they're called different things. The free national constitution is for the nationals of the land to enforce. We are the nationals of this northern part of America known as Morocco. I'm not saying take my word for it. You can research it. But what I'm saying is get it verbatim from someone's mouth, because what we have forgot about our history is that it was oral first. We told it to ourselves first. No one can ever trick me with that back to Africa stuff, because my mama put it down to us when we were youth that we were of what's considered Cherokee blood, Blackfoot, Navajo, Seminole. Now, upon my research, what I done my due diligence on, I found out that those were not the names of those true people. They were Moors. You're dealing with the Lenape Moors, the Delaware, down to the Washita. You got maps that show how much of the Washita land was the Americas, from Ohio Territory, Michigan, all the way down southern to Louisiana, Georgia, Alabama, all that. All that. Now, when I say that Prophet Noble Drew Ali was Washita, because his mother was of Washita. Drew wasn't even the brother's last appellation for real. It was actually Tunica, because he was a Turner, because his mother was Eliza Turner. So that right there shows you that people don't study because they don't even got the real appellation of what the man was really actually called. And we also know that he's Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali. The Ali came when he was professed to be the prophet, the sun that rised out of the west, to make sure that we wake up here. We can keep playing the games that this ain't our land, and they're going to keep treating you like this ain't your land. For you to say or step up and say this your land, you got to know what that employs. You got to know what that incurs. That incurs you knowing for a fact you are more of the Americas. Whether you inside some building called the Moorish Science Temple, whether you out here on the streets, because true nationhood is outside. It's the natural ground. It's the people of the natural ground. It ain't inside some inanimate object that can be torn down tomorrow. That's why the true temple of man is the mind. Nothing can tear down the mind unless you allow it, which then entails will tear down the body. So what I'm pointing to all Moors across the board, get your study on. Study profusely as much as you can. And make sure that when someone's saying something to you, you study that. Stand on your own 10 toes. Regardless of who you learn something from, stand on your own 10 toes. Because I want to correct this brother again, but let him know. Just because I studied from Taj Tariq Bey doesn't mean that he's so-called some type of master. No, he's a master teacher who I took the time to study from, but to also do my due diligence to study behind, to make sure that anything that brother was saying to me was correct. I did that. I do that with any Moor that puts information out on social media. Doesn't matter who you are. I don't hold you to no higher esteem than anyone else. I did the same thing with Prophet Noble Jew Ali. I studied the man's works. I studied to make sure that whatever the man was saying to me was right and exact within my soul. I can't speak for no one else. I honor the Prophet Noble Jew Ali. He let me know that I was not Negro, black, and colored. He let me know that I was a Moorish American, descendant of Moroccan, born in America. That's where the real honor comes from, is the man letting me know who I was. Not joining the temple. Not saying you shouldn't, but the honor comes in the man letting you know who you were and you taking that information and letting others know who they are. That's where the real honor in the man works come from, because he's the first that came back and told us. Wasn't Marcus Garvey, wasn't Deuce Muhammad Ali, it wasn't nobody before Prophet Noble Jew Ali who told us that we were Moors here. So that's where the real honor comes in at. When you take what that man told you, who you were, and you express that to others that's like yourself, Moors. I want to yield the floor. I want to say Islam to the brother Taharka for having me on here. I want to let everybody know I ain't got no ill will against no Moor out here unless that's what you want. But other than that, it's all about love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice with me. And I hope it is with other Moors out there as well. Islam.
Islam. Brother Ishmael Bey, brother, take the floor. Talk to the people for a minute, my brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I want to thank Brother Ramon. I want to thank you also, Brother Taharka Bey, for hosting such a wonderful show and laying down that foundation of an outlet for Moors to build on so many various topics. It's an invaluable platform that you've created, Brother Taharka, and I want to thank you for that. Taharka, I've been good, brother. I've been focusing a lot more on the financing. You know, I've already met.
Can I hold something?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. We actually got a lot of things in the works right now. It's really taking it to the next level. You know, once you've mastered one level, or you're proficient on one level, which is the knowledge and the wisdom and that side of it, you have to also apply that wisdom into financial independence. So I've been focusing on that and working with some really important finance experts. We got some very big projects that we're working on right now. Very diligent on that.
Islam, my brother.
Very, very good topic that y'all were dealing with. You know what I mean? I had some specific questions on there. And, you know, because it's strange seeing how this ideology was formulated, and then seeing how it just grew legs, and then it just kind of took a life of its own, you know. And Brother Sharif has shared with you on this show before how the Queen of the Washita, how she would sit in the sessions with us, you know, in Cleveland, as she was getting that knowledge and that information. And all of this ideology is a mixture and adding on, coming from that circle of mothers and sons and CM Bay. This started from the CM Bay. We would go to the CM Bay temples, and the queen of the Washita Nation would sit there in the sessions with us, and she would be learning just like Brother Sharif, me, and her in there with the brothers and sisters in Cleveland. And then she would go back down south, and we'd go back to New York, and we continue on what we were doing. But she was then merging the Patriot groups with the Washita groups, you know, with that ideology. And now you see, with the advent of technology being put out into the public, but it's a misnomer. You know, a lot of that information really has to get cleaned up, because it's a lot of people applying that ideology and then mixing it with the Moorish Science Temple. And it was two separate entities. That did not start from the Moorish Science Temple. That started from CM Bay's group. So it started from there, including when Taj started teaching it. He was teaching it from the circle of mothers and sons terminology and from their mindset, not the Moorish Science Temple. But as, again, with the advent of technology and video started going out, that's why you see the rappers like B.O.B. quoting the people like Hakeem Bey and this outdated misinformation, which is why I went directly to the Church Ward family in order to denounce the Washitas for that misinformation of them pushing that land of Mu misnomer, misinformation. Land of Mu is a myth. And they were using that Church Ward family until I had that Church Ward family denounce them specifically, or else I was going to continue to unleash my fury on the Church Wards for misleading Moors that I knew was coming down the pipe 10 and 20 years later. I refused to have that happen.
Hey, can I ask you a question? Do you have
Yes,
that
sir.
information to share as far as you going to the Church Ward family and having them denounce?
Bro, you gotta catch Ishmael off camera for that. He got all that.
I'm just asking a question, brother.
Yes, sir, brother. I'll tell you what. In about 20 minutes after we get off the air, I will post up the video of the Church Ward family denouncing the Washita Moors.
You know who that is?
And you can find it at the Ahmed Ra Squad African Moorish Scholarship on Facebook. Absolutely, brother. You can join the membership, and the Church Ward family followed through on their promise to me that they would denounce the Washita Moors of pushing that land of Mu lie, and I want to thank them for doing that.
Okay,
I think that's important to clean that up.
I'm the type of Moor that you just can't tell anything to. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you say you have something, I would like to, you know, see it for myself. So therefore, you know what I mean? It'll be knowledge to myself.
I want to try to wrap this up, but brother, I'm gonna tell you, as you spread around, this is why we shouldn't throw out stuff like dirty Moor, that, because the conversation, just because we don't agree with each other, don't make you don't be a dirty Moor to me because you don't agree with me. I could care less. You know what I'm saying? Throwing names.
I would never think just because of disagreement, someone's a dirty Moor. I go by actions.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. We don't know each other that personal.
When I see the actions of Moors and when they do certain things, brother, that can give me the insight that I know that Moor is not the right thing. Now, I could say something else.
Different people.
You get what I'm saying? I could say something else about the Moor. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali told me to call them dirty Moors.
But come on. But I mean,
that's the terminology that I use, dirty Moor, because I know for a fact when you're doing things that I know for a fact is not consciously right, brother, like selling.
Brother, you call me a dirty Moor, you don't even know me.
When it's free. Now, I'm not saying you particular.
No, but you call me a dirty Moor and you don't even know me.
No, the reason why I say you're a dirty Moor because you went and got a dirty officer from the U.S. Corporation Bar Association.
This is a YouTube show.
Your own Moorish brothers when it comes to law. Bruh, she works for the courts. Why would you get someone?
That's my sister.
The opposition
that's my sister, like you, my brother. I disagree with you.
You get what I'm saying? That didn't make no sense to me. That's where the dirty part came in to me.
Brother, now, I disagree with you. This sister just give you the inside of how the court system works.
I've been in the courtroom as a Moor, brother. I've been in the courtroom as a Moor. I know how dirty that is. I'm gonna bring it to you real talk. I've been in there as a Moor, but let me tell you what happened to me. Let me tell you what happened to me. My story, real quick. The day I was discharged, right? I was asked, "How fast can you get out of here? How fast can you get out of here?" Because the whole time that they had me kidnapped, I stood on my national principles, to where rabbis was coming to talk to me, asking me certain questions about this, that, and the third. And once I said certain words, they ain't had nothing but to shake their head like, okay, correct. Now, where I'm from, I can't speak about nobody else county, jail. Where I'm from, it takes you 4 hours to get out of there. When somebody posts a bond or whatever, you being released, it's 4 hours. Anybody that's in the territory, Ohio, near the corporation Cincinnati, will tell you that. I was out of there in 25 minutes because I kept saying I'm a Moor, I'm a Moorish American, I'm a national of the land, also a political prisoner being held captive against my will, because when you're dealing with nationality, you're dealing with politics. You're dealing with the true politics of the world. Now, when they realized that I wasn't going to relinquish my square, because everything they do to you, no matter if you go into their courtroom, which the prophet told us not to go into their courtrooms, really we supposed to be letting our words speak for us, our writs, our affidavits speak for us, because that's law. Now, they're going to do every dirty tactic in the book to you because they understand that people are watching. You can't wake the people up because now you're messing with the church's money. It's all a money game down there, bruh. Now, they want no fines. They want no money out of me. No fines. But I'm supposed to have done stuff that got tickets that's supposed to be fined. No fines. We're just going to sit you down for a minute to see if you're going to keep standing on your square. To the point where top to bottom was calling me Mr. L. Top to bottom. Because I wouldn't relinquish my square for them or nothing, no matter what they would have done to me. Because I know my prophets suffered too. So why can't I suffer for this? You get what I'm saying?
Well, I definitely want to correct something on you, brother.
25 minutes, bro. I was out of there. When I spoke of the treaty of peace and friendship, they knew exactly what I was talking about.
All right.
When I spoke of the Constitution, they knew exactly what I was talking about. When I spoke of this being Al Morocco, Al Maghreb, Alaska, they knew exactly what I was talking about. They didn't debate with me. They didn't come back and tell me, nah, that ain't it. You ain't who you say you are. It was okay to the point where he got to go. Get him out of here. In 25 minutes, where it takes people 4 hours, 25 minutes, gone. No fines, no community service, none of that. Just get out of here. You got to go. So I'm telling people from a standpoint of actually going through the fire with these people, standing on national principles, I stood my ground and came out victorious in the end. Didn't matter to me that I was getting kidnapped because I was going in there to teach too, which I did. You get what I'm saying?
I want to correct something with you, dear brother. Because Brother Taharka really doesn't have to defend the platform that he's created for Moors. But I'm certainly going to speak up to honor the brother for what he does. Brother Taharka opens up this platform for some of the top professionals in the field on this planet, on this forum right here, on this platform that he's created. He's brought in some of the top geneticists on this planet to come on the show. He's brought some of the top historians, male and female, that deal with Moorish history on this show in academia. He brought in Sister Shabazz as one of the top attorneys that deals with specific forms of law. That's what he's
talking about. But he don't know that Sister Shabazz left the show and got a brother off a murder charge when she left the show the next day. He don't know that part.
Exactly. This is exactly what I wish to highlight. Attorney Shabazz has gotten multiple people off of murder charges, and she's very well respected in the legal field of which she is that she deals with every single day. So what Brother Taharka has created,
is she part of the Bar Association?
What Brother Taharka has created is a forum that allows the professionals to come in here and to interact and to share this information for all Moors to benefit, whether we're in agreement with her or we're not in agreement with her.
part of the Bar Association?
So yes, she is.
Is she a part of the Bar Association? That's a yes or no question.
Yes, she is. Absolutely.
Okay.
I said yes.
The barristers are part of the Queen. The Queen is part of the Vatican. That has nothing to do with Moors. So to bring someone in that is of the opposition,
she's taking probate. I bet
she's the opposition. I understand she's a sister, but she works for the other side. So therefore, she doesn't qualify to actually speak on law because she deals in what's the legal profession.
Do you know that the Prophet Noble had a lawyer?
Lawful. We should know this as Moors, right? We should know this as Moors. We're lawful, not legal. We don't.
Do you know that the Prophet Noble had lawyers?
Lawful,
brother. Do you know that the Prophet Noble Ali had lawyers? Not lawyers, yes. Lawyers.
Yes. Okay? Yes.
So what are you talking about? They was a member of some type of legal organization of their day too. They had to be certified. Do you know how black men get on the bench?
This is what I'm saying. As Moors.
So do you differ with Prophet Noble Ali dealing with attorneys? Do you have an issue with that?
No, I don't have an issue with Prophet Noble Ali dealing with attorneys.
Okay. So if you don't have a problem with Prophet Noble Ali dealing with
problem with that, right? I'm gonna tell you why I don't have a problem with that, right?
Right.
Because in the Prophet dealing with those people, trust me, he never once relinquished his nationality. You could deal with the opposition, correct? Without relinquishing your nationality. You can reserve your rights. You can reserve
Attorney Shabazz came to Moorish World TV. We didn't relinquish our identity.
No. What I'm saying is this.
This man. Hey, brother, we can do this again, brother. Let's close out, brother.
I just wanted to clarify, brother. I just wanted to clarify that the reason she was on the show was because a Moor had her child taken from her.
It's a simple fact that she knows for a fact that anytime a Moor takes his nationality into a courtroom, international law applies. She knows this as an attorney or so-called attorney or so-called lawyer who's practicing law. One who practices law doesn't know law. That's a fact. So she's going to hit you with the statutes and the codes that apply to U.S. citizens.
But I gotta go. I gotta get up tomorrow and go work, bro. We can do this again.
Moors know this who actually study what law really is.
Hey, brother.
Law deals with Constitution. Constitution don't deal in codes and statutes because if it did, it would say it. International law don't deal in codes and statutes because it would say statute is a code that.
That's confusion, brother. That's the confusion.
That's not confusion.
What happens is this, brother.
Who has a mind,
yes, sir,
and who can take the time to read, can study that on their own. You can teach that to a child. A child can know that. A child can know their national rights versus what are statutes and codes. That's not hard. Statutes and codes are policies. Policies are for corporations, not natural people of the land. Natural people of the land deals with the law of the land, not statutes and codes. So when you're dealing with artificial people, you got to deal in artificial law. When you're dealing with artificial people, so why would you go get a barrister who's against your Moorish nationality, who told you straight to your face, yeah, when Moors come up in there, they this, that, and the third, she letting you know she dissing you right there. So you'll bring a Moor disser on your show to diss Moors, and then that's not a dirty Moor?
Well, it wasn't to bring her on the show to diss Moors. Let's be clear.
That's what she did the time she was on the show, brother.
But that's her. She just told her experience. What should I censor her from telling her experience about the foolishness that happened in courtroom?
No, she's explaining exactly what she sees going on in the courtroom. She was explaining her firsthand experience.
Through her experience, and that's a dirty act. Come on, man, stop hiding.
We know why those things take place in those forums or so-called courtroom. Now, according to the Constitution of the United States of America, the only courtroom is the Supreme Court.
Oh my goodness! Look,
the only court.
That's not true. That's not true, brother. That is not true.
Is that correct?
That is not true at all. That is wrong.
The Constitution states that the only court is the Supreme Court, and the lower courts are administrative courts. So if it's administrative, that's business. You're not dealing with court. Court deals with either civil a criminal.
There are various forms of court, brothers.
If you're in there for a traffic violation, what is that? Is it criminal or civil?
I can take you through. I can take you through this, but I mean, you made many mistakes in the comments that you were making. For instance, you kept on quoting the treaties as if treaties are the highest law of the land, and they're not. A treaty can get overridden very, very easily by the needs of a citizen. A U.S. citizen's rights can override any treaty. Did you know that?
A U.S. citizen does not exist.
The needs of a U.S. citizen can override any treaty, but you kept on quoting the treaty as if a treaty was the highest law of the land, and it is not.
The United States is a corporation. Corporation can't have citizens. So that's an oxymoron right there. So therefore, that's where your mistake comes in at. You keep saying U.S. U.S. is a corporation. Corporation can't have citizens. It's not a country. It's not a lawful nation nowhere on the planet. So
brother, is a treaty the highest law of the land then, brother?
Article 6. Article 6. The Constitution of the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuant thereof of all treaties.
Brother, is a treaty the highest law of the land?
It shall be the supreme law of the land. Supreme law of the land. You can't have
so you said that a treaty. So let me ask you a quick question.
Check this out, brothers. And I'm gonna yield the floor real quick. Check this out. You can't even have a United States without the Treaty of Peace and Friendship.
Okay. Well, let me ask you a question.
It wouldn't even exist without that.
Then let me ask you a simple question.
Comes out at.
Then allow me to ask you a simple question.
Treaty of Peace and Friendship. There's no United States.
Then allow me to ask you a simple question.
Go ahead.
Have you ever heard of the head money case?
Yes.
What is the head money case?
The head money case was a case. I'm not going to be able to say it verbatim, but I have heard of it before.
Well, if you heard of the head money case, then you would know that the head money case is the proof that a treaty is not the highest law of the land. The needs of the state overrode the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. You would know that. So you wouldn't have made that error, that elementary error, in making that statement that a treaty is the highest law of the land. The head money case is a case where the state needs overrode the treaty, and it's now case law that's used against indigenous people all over the United States of America. You should know that.
Okay, now, what treaty?
Taj don't update his information, man.
What treaty? Let's go into treaties, because we know there's a Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the Moors and the Europeans, and then we know there is so-called Indian treaties. So what treaty? Clarify the treaty.
This is not an Indian treaty, brother. Just simply pull up the head money case and read
Clarify the treaty, because it has to, if it's going to say treaties, then it has to clarify what treaty is speaking of. It just can't say treaties without clarifying what treaty.
Brother, if you want to be taught, brother, hit him in the inbox. I got to go. It's 10:50.
Absolutely.
Okay, brother.
Absolutely. I'll share the information. I'll share the information. So
Islam to you, brother. Like I said, Islam to you. Islam to the other brother. And
Islam.
Hit me up in my inbox. We can go from there.
Hey, brother Ramon, let me say this. You can call me whatever you want, brother. I honor you for coming on the show. A lot of people are very intimidated of coming on the show, not because of the information that they think I have, because they don't think I have any information, but because I'm all hyper and I'm all worked up. I appear to be. So I can appreciate you having the backbone to come on the show. Sabir Bey ran to the left. Brother Taj was supposed to come on with Sabir Bey and have a discussion with Brother Sharif. That never happened. Many other people that said they would come on, they backed out. They got shook up and scared. But brother, I'm telling you, I literally take off my Moorish American hat. You know what I mean? I got a Moorish American hat. Take it off, and I honor you, brother, for coming on the show. I love you just the same. I can disagree with you and love you just like you, my brother, came out the same womb. So I appreciate you and I honor you for that, my brother. Peace and love.
Peace and love, and thank you for having me on the platform. I honor you for that as well, brother. You know what I'm saying? Like I told you before, you know, I'm a real dude, bro. You know what I'm saying? So all that hype stuff, You talking to one of the original rah-rahs.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And real recognize real, because I'm cut from that cloth myself. All is well. Brother Ishmael Bey.
Yes, sir, brother.
Let me tell you, I appreciate you on the drop of a dime. You always said that, brother, when you need me, just call. And this was one of them times, and you the first thing came to mind. So you know I love you. I appreciate that you just stopped whatever you was doing. See, this is that real stuff. This brother. That brother could be feeding his daughter with his wife and whatever he's doing. This brother's a busy man. He say he on the West Coast, so he doing something in some hotel because he's a big time guy, see. But whatever he was doing, he was willing to say, I got you, my brother. And so that's what true brotherhood is about. And just like I said, the brother Ramon come on the show, a lot of people turn their back. It just touched my heart to see that.
Yes, there's nothing more important than what Brother Ramon was teaching, and there's nothing more important than what you and Brother Ramon were building on. Everything stops, brother. It's all for the service of Moors, and I salute both of you brothers also. Go ahead, brother.
Islam, and also, I want to shout out something real quick, brothers, because I want you brothers to know that, like I said before, I'm not against the Moorish Science Temple of America. I'm an honorary member of the Moorish Science Temple of America in Canaan land. I don't care if anybody got anything against the brother Cujo or anybody up there in Canaan land, the Moors in Canaan land. I ride with them like I ride with any other Moor that's really down for this divine and national movement. To me, they are. Your opinion can be whatever it is, but I am an honorary member of the Moorish Science Temple of Canaan land. I rock with them. I ride with them any day of the week. And like I said before, Islam and honor to all you Moors. I'm about to get ready to go myself. I got to get prepared for my job tomorrow.
And let me say this, bro.
Business, so I got to do what I got to do.
Let me say this. I also appreciate you not know when you say Canaan land and Cujo. I gotta say thank you for your language, brother. Your language was impeccable, brother. I can appreciate that.
Oh, thank you, brother. Thank you so much.
All right, so peace and love, family. We be back again. I may have my brother Ramon on here again so we can do this one more time. I think it was very interesting. I think it was very delightful and a breath of fresh air to just not have me going in, and I had a brother to challenge me. I think it was a beautiful thing, and I invite all Moors, whether they Moor national, Moorish American, to inbox me if you want to come on the show and have a dialogue. If I can't do it, I'll bring somebody else to do it, because I think this is where unity starts, having a conversation. If we can't have a conversation, unity will never happen. We can't call, we gotta stop calling each other names. We gotta get out of that little small-minded thing. And the thing is, and we can move forward, because it's going to come a time we're going to need to implement that right to travel when our unity is at its height. We're going to need to implement enforcing some of those laws of days of old when our unity is right. But we can't put the cart before the horse. We got to get our unity right. And once we get our unity right, we can implement everything that's being taught on the highways and byways and on the internet and the outernet. But with that, I say peace and love. I appreciate y'all. Thank you, brother Ishmael Bey. I love y'all, man. And this was a beautiful dialogue, and we're going to do it again.